Hey y'all, it's Taylor,
And it's Talon,
and this is a Fire Conversation with.
Taylor and Talon.
Here at a Fire Conversation, we aim to be accommodating to all members of our audience. That is why we are available in two formats: visual format for all members with a focus on detailed captions for those with hearing impairments, and an audio version for all members as well, focusing on giving the same quality and content so that those members with visual impairments can enjoy the content. This podcast is for all people to experience, despite of race, age, creed, or religion.
This disclaimer informs listeners that the views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast belong solely to Taylor and Talon, and not necessarily to any employer, organization, committee, or other group or individual. These thoughts and viewpoints are our own and do not reflect any other organization or individual.
Hey, y'all, and welcome to episode 3 of A Fire Conversation with Taylor and Te'lon. How are y'all feeling today?
Hey.
Y'all can't really respond. That was stupid of me. But anywho,
Girl, then people gonna say hey to their computer anyway.
you're like, hey. But like we said, it's episode 3. But before we kick off this episode, me and Taylor want to talk about a little initiative that we have started, which is our Spotlight Wednesdays. So every Wednesday, we will be spotlighting someone who is doing something great, whether we know them or not, in our community. And this week, who is our lucky spotlight person?
Maxine.
Woo!
Let's go turn up.
So tell me a little something about Maxine, Taylor.
Okay, so Max recently graduated from the University of Texas, as well as the fact that she entered her law program at Tulane University. So we want to congratulate Maxine on her great win, and we wish all the more success, and we pray that you have so many more accomplishments coming forward for you.
Yes. So Maxine is our first spotlight. I guess, what are we going to call them, Taylor?
Spotlight Wednesday?
Spotlight Wednesday. Lucky person. We'll figure out an official name for them that kind of goes with the theme of the podcast. But for now, we are going to just like spotlight somebody that's doing something amazing. And we really thank you for your support of our podcast and being there, whether it's retweeting, liking, or whatever. And we thought that you would be a great person to kick off this initiative.
Definitely.
So now we can, tell them about it,
if
Taylor.
you know anybody in your community or someone in your family who is who's just accomplished something that they've been working towards, be it a job, a car, a house, retirement, whatever it may be, just DM us on Instagram, Twitter, email us at our email at asktaylor.te'lon@gmail.com. And we'll probably try to shout them out every week. We're trying to just acknowledge the small things. It's not always, it doesn't have to be collegiate. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I bought my first house or I got my first $1 million. It don't even have to be all that. Just tell us some good things that, that's been going on in your life, and we want to congratulate you on that.
And for more information about that, check out our social media, as Taylor mentioned. And for our email and social media information, it'll always be at the end of the video in the where the credits would be. So check that out. Hit us up. Our DMs are always open day and night. So
simple.
Yeah. Now that we've gotten, something that we're really excited about and pumped about out of the way for this part of the podcast, we want to introduce, the topic that we'll be discussing for this week. And, per usual, what are we talking about, Taylor?
So this week, we're going to talk about domestic violence against Black women. We've obviously seen a lot of this topic floating around pretty much all of our lives, but more recently in the social media scene with Megan Thee Stallion, Breonna Taylor, a bunch of women, you know, just having a really hard time with this issue.
Yeah, whether
and we
high
wanted
profile or
to,
not.
you know, we wanted to highlight that this week because we felt like it's something that needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
So
this week we'll be talking, like as Taylor said, violence against Black women in particular. The reason that we decided to do Black women is because we are, as you all know, we are Black women, and we like to at least we're definitely not gonna like try to like make this like a very, very hard discussion. We're gonna, you know, touch some points. So this is this disclaimer that this may be a touchy subject for some people, and if it's something that you know you just can't listen to, we completely understand. But it is the reality. Yes, we respect it, but at the same time, it is a reality that many women in the U.S., outside the U.S., just Black women in general, it's something that as a whole we face. So in it, we just wouldn't be like, as we pride ourselves on being authentic, if we didn't talk about this particular subject. But we're gonna try to like, it's not make it too I don't want to say it
serious,
too serious, but it's still a very serious topic. So we don't like, if in any moment in this podcast we smile or we kind of giggle, we are not laughing at, you know, the severity of the issue. It's just the flow of the conversation. So just wanted to, you know, have that little disclaimer out of the way. But yeah, we're talking about, you know, something that's, you know, we pray that we never experience personally, but like I said, it is a reality. So yeah.
So something that I've seen recently in social media or in the media just in general is Megan Thee Stallion. For those of you who don't know, she is a Houston rapper. She's pretty big on the social media scene.
It has blown up in recent months. So
yes, and she has had a friendship or whatever, a relation, a sort of, you know, ongoing relationship, friendship with another high profile celebrity singer, Tory Lanez. And recently, a couple weeks ago, it came out in the news or social media that Megan Thee Stallion had been shot presumptuously by Tory Lanez. We didn't get confirmation until last week?
Yeah, a few days
from
ago.
Megan herself, stating that Tory was the person who shot her, not the cop, not anybody else. It was Tory.
Not her friend, which was also presumed. A few weeks ago.
So we felt like, you know, with everything that's going on in the world and the violence that's going on against Black women in particular, we felt like we needed to talk about it. And one thing me and Taylor were saying earlier was that, you know, I see a lot of women taking up and being like, what Tory Lanez did was wrong. No, it's not acceptable. But what shocked me a little bit was that I'm from Houston.
Yeah.
And not that I'm, you know, in the mix or whatever, but, you know, I'm just here in the city and I'm just telling everybody what I noticed. And I haven't really heard a lot of outcry from the Black men in the rap community who claim to support her so much. Now, in recent times, there's been Maxwell Cream. There's been, what's the name, Bun B. But I've personally haven't heard a lot of outcry from the men saying, like, what Tory Lanez did was wrong. We stand by Megan. I've seen a lot of female artists who taken Tory Lanez off their albums because of it. But truth be told, I haven't heard a lot of men say that what he did was wrong. A lot of men, in my opinion, think that because they don't exactly know what happened, they feel like they shouldn't really.
It's not my business.
It's not my business. So they feel like, or I don't exactly know what happened. I wasn't there. True, you weren't. None of us were. But at the end of the day, the girl was shot, not him.
Okay, another question for you, Taylor, not to like cut you off, but being that you are from Houston, so you would probably know more about this than I would. Um, how do you feel that your city in particular like has responded to what is going on? Because you mentioned that, you know, very few like prominent male figures in the Houston community have really kind of like spoken out about it, but you know, women are like rallying up with Megan and supporting her, and you know, basically trying to advocate for domestic situations such as this. How do you feel that like the city itself has responded to this? I mean, outside of like, you know, news coverage.
To the city itself, I'm being completely honest. I felt like the city didn't really support Megan. It wasn't a big headliner. It's not like you heard it all over the radio stations. It's not like you saw it on the news. It really wasn't, in my opinion, it wasn't like the city stood behind her. Now, that's just me. I feel like there could definitely be more support for Megan from the city, considering the fact that she literally mentions us
Every
in
song.
every single song. So it's clear that she loves her city, and I just feel like it's kind of sad that, she's kind of, I don't want to say by herself, but the people who she's supposed to be getting more support from, or the places who's supposed to be love her so much, aren't supporting her as much, and it's a little
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah, I feel like you see that a lot though in like not even just like this particular situation, but people that are very supportive of a cause or a particular organization, and you know, they do a lot for that cause, organization, etc. And when they're in a time of need, or you know, things are really not going the way that they were initially, whether like they're not as popular anymore or whatever the case may be, it's just like the thing that they were in support of so much doesn't give them like the same support and love that, you know, not saying that it was necessarily even monetary or anything. It's just like you think you would at least be like, you know, I stand in solidarity with you. Like I just personally don't even feel like I'm seeing that. And you know, you try to not automatically like say, oh, this is a race thing, but it's really hard to say that this is like not a race thing, because I just feel, and this is my personal opinion, that if a white woman was going through the same exact thing, I just like, there's no way that you can like change my mind to think that the city or the people in the surrounding community would have responded in the same fashion that they've done with her. Because as you stated, like there's people that are supporting her, yes, but just as many people that are supporting her, there are like two times as many people saying, oh, you don't know what she did, oh, she's this, that, and another, comparing her to a man, you know. um like the same way they always portray Black women in media, like she's 6 foot this, she could have stood her own, you know, she did this, she looks like this. It's just like, why is it even going there? Because would you give this same energy to someone who was not a Black woman? So it's like, I don't know. It's just it's very disheartening. It's very disheartening. Hello, everyone. Sorry for the brief interruption. We're having connection issues at the moment due to the hurricane in the area. So if there's like a odd pause or like one of us seems frozen, that's what's going on. And this episode would more than likely be shorter than our usual, which is around 45 minutes to an hour. So we just wanted to let y'all know that before we proceed to the next half of this episode.
Yeah, so Taylor, I just have some few questions for you about, the culture in America, in regards to domestic violence. So I guess what I'm trying to ask you is, when it comes to America and in particular Black women,
Okay.
how do you feel that mothers, grandparents, figures talk to young women about domestic violence? Do you think it's a recent situation, like within the past 50 years, or do you think, like, just give me your view?
Overall, I feel like a lot of the issues that we do face in this world, whether that be domestic violence, racism, homophobia, things of that nature, I don't feel that these issues are like, oh, something that has just happened, over the past 5, 6 years. I feel like it's definitely something that, has been happening for generations, like Lord knows how long, since probably the beginning of time. I think what it is happening is that you're finally being able to actually see it like in media or on social media, like it's actually being displayed because a lot of people are kind of like, if I don't see that this is happening, I'm just going to assume that it's either one, not happening, or I'm just going to continue to ignore it. But now we live in an age where everything is recorded. um, Someone is going to see some action, whether you think you're alone, someone somewhere sees that, like what's going on. So it's not so much that it's not happening, it's just that people are recording, people are, they're angry about a lot of these issues that are going on. So that's what I would like to say for the first part of that question. The second part of the question is, I feel like it depends on the upbringing about how certain people feel about some of the issues. So I know personally that, like not like for myself, my mother and my family always raised me that, especially when it comes to like domestic violence, that if a man, your significant other, they put their hands on you or they're physically or verbally abusive to you, you do not stay in those abusive situations. But at the same time, I have met people or have seen, you know, interviews or docu-series or the like, where people are like, growing up, my mother or my grandmother or my aunt, whoever, the figure was in their life, they were like, a man, he doesn't love you unless he, hits you, he talks to you bad, he degrades you. So I feel like it depends on how you were brought up and what they instilled in you. Because I know for me personally, you're not going to do that to me. I'm not going to stand for that. But other people may see that as, oh, this is love. Like physicality, this here is love, which I don't completely agree
Yeah.
with. But at the same time, you can't blame someone for being conditioned that way. You just have to try to figure out a way to explain to them that, hey, this is how you were, brought up, conditioned, whatever, but that is not right. You do not have to go through this. You need to value yourself and basically help them to understand their worth.
And I'd even argue that it's not even an upbringing thing. I
Yeah.
think some people, their parents might not have necessarily had that discussion with them
Uh-huh.
about, this is what you shouldn't allow, like explicitly. It
Mm-hmm.
might be like some people come from a background where their family has told them like don't don't stay in that situation,
Mm-hmm.
but due to the feelings that they have for their significant other, they find themselves staying, and
Yeah.
they find themselves um, allowing the situation, or they might even not even allowing, they might fight back,
Mm-hmm.
and they feel like that's just how we are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it
Yeah.
might not even be about, because that's what, from my understanding, from some of the different people I've talked to within my life, some people, they're like, oh no, I fought back, but
Yeah.
I just figured that's just how me and him are,
Yeah.
and they just figured, hey, that's just how we are.
Yeah.
I know it's probably not the best, but I love him, and he ain't gonna be beating on me. I'm gonna beat him up too.
Yeah.
And it's just,
Yeah. Like that.
it's hard because, in my opinion, no man should ever lay his hands on a woman under no circumstances, unless it's life or death.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that you walk away,
You have
because
to
at
date
the
the
end,
situation.
you have to, because if she's irate and hitting you, I've always felt like no woman should put her hands on a man, because if the roles were reversed, if the roles were reversed, you would get your cousins, your daddy, your uncle, your whoever, and get him to get beat up, right?
Yeah.
So I don't really think no one should be
Putting their
touching
hands
this.
on
I
anyone,
don't think
like in
anybody should
general.
be doing that. Like,
Man to woman, woman to man,
none of that should
woman
be
to
going
woman.
on.
People should just
For
keep their
sure.
hands off each other.
Yes. And it actually really hurts my heart because it's just like to think that somebody you care about, somebody you've opened up to, would ever physically harm you. It's not even like scary. It's just like heartbreaking because it's like the amount of trust you put in that person when you enter that relationship, the amount of the fact that you're being so vulnerable with them at some one point or another, and to have somebody physically put you in harm's way, it's saddening, really it is. And I wish for everybody who does find themselves in a domestic violence situation, I ask and I pray that, you find the strength to leave and leave safely. You're able to get the courage and the support you need to leave and move on with your life. And whether that's finding love with someone else, maybe you might not be able to do that. Maybe it's just going to be you. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
Whether you move on and find love with someone else, or, you decide to stay to yourself and focus on you. Whatever it is, I just hope you're able to do it with support, with love, and you do it safely. Because I've never been in a domestic violence situation ever, but I couldn't imagine what that feels like.
Yes, and it's
I couldn't
just
imagine.
as I stated previously, it's just as disheartening when you're going through that situation. You know someone's going through that situation, and that person's being put down or being blamed as if they were the cause of them being in that particular situation. So
Mm-hmm.
I want for people to take away from this outside of saying hey, this is a problem that we definitely need to be paying more attention to, especially when it comes to Black women, but also being conscious of what we say and how we respond to when you hear about these things, or when
Yes.
someone whether you see it on the TV, social media, or in person, think about okay, how am I processing this? Am I automatically saying, oh, I don't know, what the situation is? Maybe this person deserved it? Because that is one thing that I've heard a good deal is oh, maybe they did something to deserve this, and no
Yeah.
one deserves to be put their hands on, attacked, assaulted, anything like that.
Mm-mm. It's never
So
called for.
it's not. And you have to really like think about how you are responding to these things, kind of try to get down to why am I responding in this fashion, because that is just
Yeah.
as dangerous and harmful to the victim than the person who is actually abusing them and
Yeah,
causing them
victim
harm.
blaming is not okay. And the sad truth about it is, we want to be honest, in the Black community, there's been, a lot of we just have a history of being skeptical about,
Yeah.
well, did she do something? Girls get irate and crazy. Maybe she did something for him to pop off. Or we don't know exactly what's going on. We weren't there. We don't know. But yes, we aren't there. Maybe she did pop him first. Maybe she did. And with that being said, he should have been the bigger person. He should have been the man in the situation, walked off. If I just feel like, you know, if you're a man, you don't lay your hands on a woman. If you're a woman, don't lay your hands on your man, because it's not okay. It's never good for anybody, ever.
On top of that, with that particular situation, he had a gun. How much threat was she posing on his life if he is the one who has a weapon?
Yeah.
Like, really? Really. And as I mentioned to Taylor before we recorded, it's like, who does that? Who takes these measures? And the harsh reality is that actually, like Taylor said, a lot of people do stoop to this level. And it's just like, it's really, really, it's just like, it's sad. And what takes the cake is that when it comes to Black women, outside the fact that like we have been victims of, you know, you know, just unspeakable harm on us for generations, centuries, years, however you want to break it down. We still are, in many cases, very protective and, kind of like hold off on
Yes.
speaking up. So it's kind of like a very similar thing that you see for people who have been victims of, sexual abuse. People are like, oh, why didn't you speak up? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And it's because one, most people are scared. They're scared to do so. And the second thing is like, they're trying to, in this particular situation, like for Black women, it's like, they're trying to still protect, you know, the person who caused them harm, because they don't want something worse to potentially happen to them. And it's just like, I think it's really, I don't want to even say it's crazy, because like at the same time, I get it. I understand it, the whole wanting to protect someone from another harm. But when we are in that situation, why do we not receive that same like treatment? I just want to know, when is it going to be the time where people are like, I stand with Black women wholeheartedly, I support them, I believe them? Like, when are we going to have that same energy reciprocated,
Definitely.
that we give to other parties?
Yes, because one thing I've noticed, if you look at any movement that's gone on here in America, heck, the world, a woman, and if she's Black, I mean, if they're in a predominantly Black country, or if there's Black people in it, a Black woman is standing at the front lines. She's getting arrested. She's protecting the men. She's doing all these different things to help with the cause and support and dedicate herself to things. And in return, it seems like Black women, we just don't get that. And it makes you, and from my perspective, it makes you almost want to be like, bump everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm looking out for me and me only.
But why is it when,
you know what I mean,
Black women want to look out for themselves after being mistreated like in this fashion for many ways, like for many years, I'm sorry. Once we say, you know what, I'm going to stand up for myself, I'm going to do this, I'm going to stop this from happening. Oh, she's selfish. She's an angry Black woman. She's this.
Definitely.
She's a
rise
bitch.
above it.
Like,
don't be bitter. But it's like, when you've seen so many people that you love, you care about, be harmed, and nobody's standing up for them, it's like, dang.
Yeah.
What the heck? Because the sad truth is, God forbid, it be the Taylor or I go missing today, the sad truth is, there's not going to be this national rally behind us being missing. It is not. I would love for there to be, but everybody's name isn't being said.
And then if they do put it up there, what are they gonna do, Taylor? Oh, when she was 6, she pushed a cat. When she was,
or she was kind of fast anyway.
Yeah, it's
that's what's being said. Or she had a lot of different boyfriends and she had a bad temper. What? And it makes you almost want to not retreat, but make you want to say, look, if you are not a Black woman, I'm not about to deal or support or do any of that, because I know at the end of the day, you're not going to do the same for me. Or if I do one thing to tick you off or inconvenience you, you'll turn your back on me. And it makes you almost want to be like, look, I'm not doing anything.
And then in the same fold, it's like, once, we know what Black women go through, and many people that are Black or, are closely related to Black people, they see that this is going on, but other communities, They act like they don't know what's going on. And then all of a sudden they're like, I wonder why Black women have such high rates of mental illness. I wonder what could be causing that. I don't understand it. It's just like the facts are sitting right in front of you and you're choosing to ignore it.
Yeah, it's really disheartening. Really, truth be told, a lot of the mistreatment that Black women go through, be it domestic violence, sexual assault, mental verbal abuse, heck, how we even gender discrimination, racism. It's just like everything that can happen, every discrimination, every form of mistreatment a Black woman goes through, down to how she wears her hair, her nails, what she puts on her body, who she's in a romantic relationship. It's all up for scrutiny, and quite frankly, we are always being attacked for something, be it physically or, over social media or verbally. It's just like, it's a bit much. And even if you yourself as a Black woman haven't gone through, some of these things, you've definitely experienced
the pain of
the
others.
pain,
Yeah.
the anxiety, the worry that it could be you too.
At any moment. You
Simple
don't
fact.
know if or when it will happen. It's just kind of like a game of chance constantly.
Yes, and it's like you're just praying when you walk into this situation that is not you. You're praying that, especially when you're young and dating different guys, you're just praying like, I hope this man is not crazy enough to lay his hands on me. That's just a sad truth. I don't know if I'm pretty sure other races deal with the same thoughts and fears.
Yeah, I don't feel like you're discounting that, but like you said, we can only speak from your experiences.
But I can only speak from my experience as a young Black woman. Typically, when those domestic violence situations happen, they're typical Taylor and I age, and we're 22. So let's say I'll give the domestic violence ages from, I don't know, mid-teens, so 16 to like on up. Some women find themselves in domestic violence situations, and it's just like, what the heck? It's really scary being a young woman, being out here trying to find love, trying to
just make it,
trying to further your career, trying to do whatever, and realizing that there's so many different obstacles and so many different people who might not consciously be against you, but they have very messed up biases against you.
Yeah.
And your gender, your race, and it's just like, it's a little disheartening. For sure.
And to go off of that, it makes me think of something else that like you see a lot in media, is how in certain situations, especially when it comes to like the way we wear our hair or fashion or anything like related to like beauty or something that can be monetized. Let me say it that way. Something that Black women do specifically that can be monetized. You see Black women kind of seeming like they're, I don't want to say defensive. I don't want to use that word, but I'll say that they feel some type of way when another woman from a different culture just feels that they can, oh, I just take this piece and I'll take this piece from your culture. I'll take this piece. I'll appropriate this. But the thing that I feel that Black women get upset about is not so much that like they're using these things, but it's like, okay, you're taking from our culture, you're taking things from Black women, but you wouldn't even want to like fully experience what it's like to be a Black woman. You want the things that are good about us, but when we're hurting, when we're suffering, you're not standing up for us. You just want what can make you money, make you look good, make you, draw people to you. You want the good from us, but you don't want, like, you want our rhythm, but you don't want our blues, basically. So that's what that really makes me think about. So when it's constantly perpetuated that Black women are angry, yes, sometimes we are angry, and I feel that we have a right to be angry. Like, we're not always angry. We have tons of joy, and we are truly magical beings. I do feel that. But you kind of have to understand why we feel the way that we do, because we do not
Yeah.
feel protected. We have not felt protected. If we're being completely honest, have we ever been protected?
Yeah.
And that's something that people just don't want to talk about. But you have to talk
Yeah.
about it. You can't fully, in my opinion, say that you love and care about Black women, but you aren't protecting them. Like, make that make
Yeah.
sense. Like, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. And it's just like people is always is this big trend for people to say they love Black women, they love Black women. But behind closed doors, you sitting here bad mouthing a dark skinned girl with
Whole lot of
or see
anti-Blackness.
or with really super curly kinky hair. You're sitting here bad mouthing a girl with big lips. You're sitting here bad mouthing a girl with a big nose. And you say stuff like that girl doesn't deserve to be loved. You don't know what that girl's been through.
But you're pro-Black. You for the
Like, what makes
cause.
you
Any different?
like? People sometimes are so, what's the word? Two-faced. You know, they stand for one thing within the community, and then they turn it back on another situation. It's just like, bro, make
Don't
up
even
your
get me
mind.
started on little Doja Cat. Y'all, the people's friends, who loves, the assets of being Black, but is over here talking to other Black women.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, a whole nother situation.
That's a whole nother situation that we can talk about for hours.
Days.
But one thing I just want to end on is that domestic violence within the Black community is very much something that's not talked about, in my opinion, enough.
It's not.
And I feel like women are not believed enough. And if they are believed, they're not protected enough. And with that being said, Taylor, I just want to ask you for your last little comments before we close out. What else do you want the people to know or hear from you on the subject before we close?
Because I feel like you wrapped up on a very, very strong point that in general, women were not believed enough. Like, in general, it's all women. But of the all women, Black women are at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to being believed. We're constantly being hypersexualized. If you really think about it, how long does our innocence really last? It doesn't. Like, time, you're like 5 years old, oh, she grown. It's just like, oh, she grown now. It's like, okay. I mean, that's Black people in general, but Black women get it even sooner, in my opinion. And it's just like, I'm a very optimistic person, and I pride myself on my optimism. And I try to, at least think that one day, this is something that we'll say, hey, we talked about this when I was XYZ age, years ago, but this is not an issue that really goes on now. But if we're being completely honest, we're at the age where, we're going to be telling our children, hey, you need to watch out for this, watch out for these signs. And it just really kind of makes you sad. It makes you sad, but I feel that we're making some progress so far, and basically saying, hey, we're not putting up with this anymore. And I want us to continue to say these people's names who are being forgotten in the media, these girls who have gone missing, who the media doesn't care about. I just want us to continue to push forward and just pray that one day, even if this won't be in our lifetime, we can make it to where people don't have to experience the things that we have.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. There's a knock on the door.
And with that being said, we're happy that you guys tuned into our podcast.
Yes.
Again, these are issues that we feel like need to be discussed no matter what.
And we know it's a tough one, so if you stuck through it to the end, we really genuinely appreciate that.
Yeah.
But like we said, it's a hard conversation, but it's a conversation that has to be had.
Most
Because some
definitely.
people don't have the privilege of going around it.
Yes. And to end on that note, if you feel the need to tell us your stories, if you know someone or you yourself are going through a domestic violence situation, please reach out to any of the number of websites or numbers that we're going to have posted at the end of this video.
Yes, and if
All
you
right.
feel comfortable speaking with us, shoot us a DM, always confidential.
Yes.
We don't share DMs unless we ask you for your permission.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so thanks for staying with us.
Yes.
And this is
Thank you.
Taylor and Talon signing off. Continue to be great people and just love one another and be kind,
Be safe, you guys.
And be safe. Be safe.
All right. Bye, you guys.
Bye.